They say history is written by the victors, but what if the truth was buried with the fallen? Every secret leaves a trace, if you know where to look. This is The Broken Truth, decoding history, one broadcast at a time. The Broken Truth podcast, where history meets conspiracy. Every case tells a story, every story hides a lie.
This week, while America fought over holiday deals and the media recycled political drama, the world moved in ways most people didn't notice. NATO quietly raised its winter readiness level, something they only do when expecting escalation. China redrew a portion of the South China Sea map with firing a shot, a global political move with long-term consequences, and U.S. financial markets flashed warnings disguised as holiday optimism. Behind these headlines, something deeper was happening, a convergence of economic pressure, digital control, and global posturing that will shape early 2026. This is the news they don't want you to connect. This is your Broken Truth Weekly Intelligence Brief from November 30th to December 6th. Welcome back to the Broken Truth Podcast. I'm your host, Garrett, breaking down the major geopolitical and economic shifts for this past week, the ones that slipped under the surface while the world was distracted by the holiday rush. Every Friday morning, we pull apart the headlines, expose the narrative, and lay out what actually matters for your future. Let's dive in. So the global headlines. 1. NATO raises winter readiness, a rare alert. This week, NATO increased readiness for cold weather response units. No dramatic announcement, no breaking update, just a quiet operational shift. Winter is when Europe's energy dependence becomes strategic vulnerability. Russia knows it, NATO knows it, history knows it. This is not fear, this is preparation. 2. China quietly redraws maritime boundaries. China announced administrative updates to its maritime zoning. Bureaucratic language, masking a territorial expansion. These map adjustments create future legal justification for military enforcement. Think naval patrols, air incursions, warning shots, strategic blocking positions. This wasn't a clerical update, it was chess. 3. German industrial output falls again. Germany's industrial sector, manufacturing, exports, heavy engineering, contracted for the 5th time this year. Europe is entering recession before the US, and historically, that pattern ripples across the Atlantic within months. 4. Middle East ceasefire shows new cracks. Minor firefights, drone incidents, and militia repositioning occurred around Gaza, Lebanon, and the Red Sea. These movements aren't random. They're test pulses, probing responses, timing, and international attention. 5. Another major cloud outage. For the second week in a row, a cloud network outage disrupted banks, payment processors, logistics systems, and medical facilities. This is becoming a pattern, not a glitch. Whether it's infrastructure strain, coordinated cyber probing, or internal reconfiguration, we're watching the digital world's fragility being exposed in real time. Moving on to the geopolitical tensions, Russia repositions air defenses toward Europe. Satellite data showed Russia shifting several air defense and missile interception units toward its western border. This move signals two possibilities: an expectation of intensified Ukrainian drone activity, or a belief that NATO surveillance flights are entering a new phase. Russia is bracing for something, and nations don't shift air defense grids unless the intelligence briefings have changed. China raises military readiness near Taiwan. Not an invasion, not a direct threat, just a subtle rise in readiness and a set of combat patrols. But in geopolitics, timing matters. China always tests boundaries during the Western holiday stretch, when governments are slow, distracted, and under-resourced. If China ever wanted to push the envelope, December is their preferred window. So moving on to the American market breakdown, the stock market and the holiday mirage. Markets rose this week, but not because of strength. The real drivers were low-volume trading, short-term holiday optimism, algorithms exploiting predictable patterns, retail investors chasing feel-good news. Behind the scenes, earning estimates slipped, liquidity thinned, volatility indicators rose. When the market rises while fundamentals fall, someone is engineering confidence. Housing market, the deep freeze continues.
Sorry to interrupt your regularly scheduled podcast, but this episode is brought to you by the Broken Truth merch. Support the show. Wear the truth. Official Broken Truth podcast merch is live now. Links in the description. And since you've made it this far in the episode, comment #BrokenTruth and leave us a 5-star review on your favorite platform. Because when you speak up, the algorithm listens. And so does the world.
Mortgage rates eased slightly, but the freeze didn't thaw. Buyers aren't coming back. Sellers don't want to sell. Builders are slowing down. The housing market is in a standoff, and standoffs don't end peacefully. Cash buyers, mostly institutional, are starting to circle again, which means they expect lower prices or distressed inventory in Q1. The dollar, weak but controlled. The dollar dipped again this week. This is strategic erosion, not collapse. Why? BRICS nations meet in January to finalize alternative settlement pathways outside the dollar. The United States knows this, global markets know this, and central banks are preparing quietly. Bond yields, classic recession indicator. The 10-year yield fell sharply, a historically accurate recession bell. When yields drop fast, investors expect lower growth. Rates will be cut sooner. Recession risk increases. This pattern appears before every major downturn. Crypto and institutional accumulation. Bitcoin's early week dip was met with enormous buy volume from institutional wallets. Retail panic to institutional accumulation to the Q1 breakout. Crypto is following the same pre-halving script it always does. U.S. consumers and the breaking point. Holiday spending increased, but for the wrong reason. Record credit card usage, record delinquencies, record low savings. Buy now, pay later spikes. This is not a sign of a strong consumer. It's a sign of strain. Expect this to get louder in January. Surveillance and technology. Global ID meetings intensify. Regulators from the US, EU, and several Asian nations met behind closed doors to discuss interoperable digital identity standards. In plain English, a unified global digital ID framework, one identity, multiple nations. This is the backbone of digital passports, travel permissions, online identity verification, CBDC access, service restrictions. This is the biggest long-term story that almost nobody is watching. AI speech regulations advance. Tech companies and government agencies met this week to formalize model compliance expectations. They're creating guardrails, not just for misinformation, but for what AI is allowed to say at all. This is speech control through machine policy. It's not futuristic, it's happening now. So some pattern recognition. This week reveals a multi-front alignment. Economic narratives are being softened to prepare the public for Q1 downturns. Global powers are repositioning military without making overt threats. Digital infrastructure is showing coordinated stress, whether intentional or systemic. Governments are synchronizing digital identity and AI speech frameworks. These are not isolated events. This is groundwork, the early stages of a structural shift in global power, currency, and digital control. From December 15th to January 5th is historically when governments and institutions make moves they don't want full public attention on. Cyber events, market shocks, and international escalations often occur here. Some actionable takeaways. Expect increased volatility in U.S. markets within 1 to 2 weeks. Housing remains frozen, institutional buyers are positioning. The dollar continues a slow, strategic decline. NATO and China both made meaningful winter moves. Digital ID coordination is accelerating faster than expected. Watch for cyber disruptions entering the holiday period. This has been your weekly intelligence brief from November 30th to December 6th. New deep dives every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and a Bible study every Saturday. The weekly intelligence brief every Friday morning. Stay aware, stay awake, and stay free.
In a world built on hidden histories and half-truths, we've only just begun to peel back the layers. Because what you've heard tonight was never meant to be known. But you were meant to find it. If you're ready to go deeper, leave us a review, comment your thoughts, share this episode, and step inside the archives. Join the inner circle, where the real evidence is kept. This is the broken truth. Because the truth isn't whole, it's broken.